Is it possible to get into property with a little amount of money? How do you do this without having a big deposit? In this video, I'm going to be sharing 3 ways of which you can get started in property with a little amount of money or none of your own money. So if you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification button to get an alert of all my upcoming videos. The first strategy I'm going to talk about is serviced accommodation, also known as rent to SA. Now, simply put, what you're going to do is you get a 2-bedroom apartment which you'll take on for, let's say, 3 to 5 years. You would do up the property, you make it look nice, you would advertise this property on Booking.com and Airbnb and other platforms, and people will book this apartment on a nightly basis. So you're now taking bookings on a nightly basis rather than on a long-term basis. So now, looking at an example of one of my previous serviced apartments, I rented out a 2-bedroom apartment off a landlord for about 3 to 5 years, and I agreed a rental amount of £800 per calendar month. So I decorated the property, put it up to a high standard, and I put it online on Booking.com, Airbnb and other platforms for £120 a night. Now on average, I got a minimum of 20 nights bookings. So 20 nights of every month I had bookings, which was £120 a night. Now if you do the maths, that works at £2,400 a month. So I've made a gross profit of £2,400 off one apartment. I'm now going to pay the guaranteed rent landlord, so I'm going to deduct £800 and I'm going to be left with £1,600. I'm then going to deduct the bills. Of course, you're going to have to get a cleaner to clean the property and change the bedding for the next guest. And let's average that at about £400 every month. So now I'm left with a net profit after all the bills and deductions of £1,200 per calendar month. Before you get to this stage, there are going to be other factors that you need to consider. So the first one will be location. Where would you like to start your serviced accommodation business? You're going to be looking at what's in the area. So for example, airports, a lot of business activity and tourist attraction. So let's look at airports now. People are coming into the town or city to travel the next morning, and people are coming into the country. They're going to need somewhere to stay, whether it be 1 night or 3 nights or more. So that's an indication that the serviced accommodation model will work in the area. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is, of course, find the apartment that you're going to use for serviced accommodation. You could go on Gumtree, you can go on Rightmove and Zoopla and all the property marketing platforms. And bear in mind, if you're going to go on Rightmove and Zoopla, you're going to be dealing with a letting agent. There's certain requirements you'll need to meet in order to pass referencing. But if you're going direct to landlord, you may not necessarily have to meet these requirements. So let's say, for example, you found a modern 2-bedroom apartment that's suitable for what you want to do. You're going to negotiate with the agent or the landlord, and you're going to get a fixed term of between 3 to 5 years. If you want to know the average percentage of bookings in your chosen area, you can go on websites such as AirDNA. Now, once you go on AirDNA, it's going to show you, based on the chosen area, what the average percentage of bookings per month is in the area. Another option would be to go onto Airbnb and look at the calendars of other serviced accommodation providers in your area. This will tell you on average how many bookings they're getting in a month, and will also give you an indication of the rough estimate of percentage per month of bookings. Based on the information you find, you're going to use this as a negotiation tool between you and the owner of the property. You're now going to find out how much you're going to charge on a nightly basis. You're going to check roughly how many nights a month you think you can get on the property. You're then going to deduct the cleaning fee. You're going to also pay yourself, and whatever is left, is what you would offer the landlord for the property. You need to also bear in mind you need to have the right contracts in place. You can't use a standard AST to run a property as serviced accommodation. But in terms of contracts, I'm going to be discussing this in another video. Now you've got the property, you're going to need to set it up to a high standard. So similar to a hotel or even better. You could use an interior designer if you don't know how to do this, or to cut costs, you can do this yourself. How much is it going to cost you to set up this serviced apartment? Of course, this is based on the price that you negotiate and the terms of the agreement. So of course you're going to pay the first month's rent, you're likely to have to pay a deposit, you're going to pay to decorate the place, and if the flat is unfurnished, you're going to have to furnish the place. You also have to bear in mind the cost of maintenance and cleaning and other fees, but of course the aim is to work on the business and not in the business, so eventually you're going to need to outsource some of these functions. Now the second option of investing in property with minimal funds is what is known as rent-to-rent HMO. Now this is similar to rent-to-SA, but you're not renting on a nightly basis. With this, you're renting on a long-term basis. Now when I say long-term, I mean a minimum of 6 months. So you're going to get a property, let's assume it's already licensed and it's got 5 bedrooms. You're going to rent out each bedroom to separate individuals on an AST, on a room-let AST. Again, you're going to approach a landlord, you're going to find them on Gumtree, you can go through an agent if you find the property on Rightmove or Zoopla. Bear in mind again, you're going to need to pass referencing, but if you get it direct to landlords, you may not need to go through some of the rigorous process. So you've now come across a property which is HMO compliant and licensed. You're going to negotiate the deal based on how much you can get on the area. You can find this out by going on to Spare Room. Spare Room will give you an indication based on the size of the room on how much rooms are going for in the area. You will now do your numbers and you will then make an offer to the landlord to take on the property on a guaranteed rent for 3 to 5 years. Again, you need to bear in mind that you need to have the right contract. You cannot use an AST for a rent-to-rent HMO. You need to use what's called a management agreement, which is the most common one, or if the property does not have a mortgage on it, you can use a commercial lease agreement. So again, let's do the numbers on a rent-to-rent HMO. So let's keep it simple and say you've got a 4-bedroom HMO with 4 rooms. So bedroom 1 downstairs is $475 per calendar month. Bedroom 2 is $450, 3 is $450, and bedroom 4 is $500. That gives you a total of £1,875 per calendar month. You're going to deduct the landlord's guaranteed rent of, let's say, £1,000, and you're left with $875. You're now going to deduct the bills of £375, and then you're left with a net profit of £500 per calendar month. Now think about it. If you get 10 of these properties and they're all 4 beds, you're making a net profit of £5,000 per calendar month. Again, think about it. If you've got a 6-bed that's generating £1,000 or a 5-bed that's generating $750 to $800, and you've got multiple properties, you could be making a net profit of over £10,000 per calendar month. Now the third strategy is what is called property sourcing or deal packaging. Now you've got the hang of how to work out a serviced accommodation and to run the numbers with the same as a HMO. The next thing you can think about is selling these deals on to other investors for a fee of between £2,000 to £5,000 depending on the size of the deal. Now you don't have to wait until you build a portfolio to start this strategy. You can first start by deal sourcing, but you need to be able to get your numbers right, because there are a lot of investors out there who are time poor but cash rich and are looking for people to go and find them a good deal that will bring them in cash flow. And in return, they will pay you a fee for doing this. So how does this work? So what you're going to do is build up a mailing list. Now, how do you build up a mailing list? You're going to go to networking events and just let the whole world know what you do via social media and other platforms. So you're going to be getting people to sign up to your mailing list. You can build this mailing list through platforms such as MailChimp. And once you've built up a mailing list, you will now find the deal. You will now put a few details of the deal on this mail, and then you will send it out to your list of investors. So your investors will now contact you back that they're interested in the deal. You would now give them the details of the deal once they've signed an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement. And then they will pay you your sourcing fee of, let's say, £2,500. And then you will now pass them over to either the landlord if it's a direct to landlord, or to the agent if it's a deal with a letting agent. And of course, if you're selling deals like buy to lets and buy refurb refinance deals, you will now pass them over to the estate agent to start the process. In order to become a compliant deal sourcer, there are some bodies that you need to be a part of. So the first would be joining the PRS, or the Property Ombudsman. You would also need to have a ICO certificate, and you'll need to have the right liability insurance in place, and also anti-money laundering. Now, these are 3 ways in which you can get started in property with little or no money of your own. If you found this information useful, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and also hit the notification button to get an alert of all my upcoming videos.